the 18th of July, and the center of Moscow has been blown up. This is messed up. Ukrainian forces are attacking Moscow, the city center, and its suburbs. Drones are crashing into high-rise buildings. There's a fire over there. Here are the fragments. Look, that apartment is on fire. It went off with a hell of a bang. I just managed to run away in time. Everything's burning. Apartments are on fire. People are screaming. A large-scale evacuation is underway. This is killing me. God forbid anyone ever goes through this. Muscovites are screaming. Please! Oh! Come here. Don't go there anyway. A carpet regime has been declared at Vnukovo and Sheremetyevo airport. Takeoffs and landings are banned. There's panic and evacuation. The SBU has launched a new phase of the Special Operation Web. Echelons carrying military equipment and fuel have been blown up, and the Navy has also destroyed a boat belonging to Russia's Black Sea Fleet. It was blown up. We'll discuss the attacks on the Black Sea Fleet, military airfields, echelons with tanks, fuel, and equipment, as well as the explosions in Moscow and the Moscow region with Alexander Demchenko right now.
The Ukrainian armed forces are once again attacking Moscow, the city center, and the Moscow region. Drones are crashing into high-rise buildings thanks to Russian electronic warfare, of course. There are fires, apartments are burning, people are screaming, and a large-scale evacuation is underway. At Vnukovo and Sheremetyevo airports, the carpet plan has been implemented and takeoffs and landings are prohibited. There is already a massive collapse at passport control in Vnukovo. There are huge crowds of passengers there. Everyone is sobbing and crying because no one can depart. People are arguing, almost fighting, according to Russian social media channels. The main intelligence directorate blew up trains carrying fuel and military equipment. And the Navy destroyed a boat belonging to Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Ukrainian forces struck a boat off the western coast of Kherson. The attack on the Atlas oil depot for the first time in a very long while. We are targeting a refinery. We'll discuss the new special operations by the armed forces, the main intelligence directorate, and the security service of Ukraine with top analyst Alexander Demchenko right now. Sasha, welcome. Hello, Dasha. So what about the planes? What about, tell me, the airfields and airports? What about Vnukovo for us? Now, Mariuk has just come out and said that, yes, there was a planned attack on the security service of Ukraine. There was a planned explosion at the SBU headquarters on Volodymyrska Street in Kyiv. What does this mean? It means that the Ukrainian security service and probably Ukrainian intelligence are preparing major explosions, preparing blasts at decision-making centers. I don't know if there will be an explosion on Lubyanka Square. I somewhat doubt that they will actually blow up the Lubyanka specifically. But for some reason, it's likely that the general staff or the Zarbata on Frunzenskaya and a number of other strategically important decision-making centers will be blown up, or there will be some kind of explosions. So we understand that for Kyiv right now, during the day, there was a terrible tragedy in Dnipro. For those who don't know, a strike hit a passenger train. 14 schools and kindergartens were just struck. Children were injured, and there are fatalities among them. So friends, let's unite, support each other, and leave likes and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to Dasha's YouTube channel, to Dmitry Gordon's YouTube channel, where all of this is also being published. But what's very important, Dasha, is that, of course, there will be a response. The special operation Web 2 is ongoing and will continue. I can just feel it with every fiber of my being. I don't know, with my gills, my nerves, my gut feeling, whatever you call it. I just sense that very soon, there will be Web 2. I don't know what will go up in flames. Will it be Putin's plane that burns? Will there be an explosion? Will Putin's plane explode? Or will they blow up Shoigu? Or the elimination of Medvedev, who recently started threatening Trump and Putin. I even heard that Putin beat him up at night. Putin's security guards beat up Medvedev. Well, what do you expect? After making such statements, drunk, he started talking about how he almost told Trump that he would hand over nuclear missiles to Iran. Trump started threatening him, and probably Putin just snapped already. He had been shaking for several days in a row as it was. I can see that the special operation will continue. I have told you repeatedly that the Ukrainian armed forces, Ukrainian intelligence, the intelligence community, and Ukrainian security forces in general are creating conditions under which any potential of the Russian army's military technical capabilities is being destroyed in order to block and neutralize Russian offensive actions now in various directions. This includes Donbass, the southeast specifically, and of course the northern direction, where Putin wants to take Sumy, where Putin wants to create the so-called sanitary zone, although at this point he himself needs to call for orderlies. And if not for him, then for all his associates, Medvedev and all the rest. But the fact that everything has come to a standstill, the fact that Sobyanin is shouting having twice, ended up in intensive care, and come out after strokes, these are the kinds of news that are absolutely logical and consistent. Ukraine is consistently striking military targets. They've started striking oil refineries again, as you mentioned. But it was Russia that first broke this so-called energy truce just recently. Russia, Kyiv was burning just now. Literally the day before yesterday, Kyiv was burning, right? And Kyiv was burning yesterday as well. And each time these were strikes, including on energy infrastructure. And part of the city was left without power. And not just Kyiv, they're striking Sumy region too, leaving people without electricity, without water. And Lviv region recently, they hit Lviv and left people there without power and water as well. They're targeting energy facilities. So why the hell shouldn't Ukraine strike those energy facilities in return? It's obvious that any truce has been broken. It's clear that the so-called energy pause has been disrupted, that Trump got busy with other things, started leaking or shifting things around, and so on. Well, that's it. This means the board has been flipped over and that Ukraine has resumed strikes on oil refineries. And against the backdrop of the worsening economic crisis in Russia, Russia's Minister of Economic Development, Reshetnikov, had the nerve, such insolence, to come out and say right in front of Putin, the country is in recession, take cover in the wheat fields, it's over for everyone. I mean, how can someone be so rude in front of the president of Russia to say such frightening words incomprehensible to the Russian people? Recession? What kind of un-Russian word is that? He should have just said the economy is screwed, we're in deep trouble. That's it. For the Russian Federation. And in fact, they've calculated precisely that by the end of this year, that's it. After that, they can't go on. If oil stays like this, even if Trump is like this, if the sanctions are like this, if Ukraine keeps resisting like this, then that's it. We need to understand ourselves over the past few days. We've seen a whole series of these different news stories, right? The news that comes to us, an attempt on Zelensky's life in Poland was foiled. An attempt on Yermak's brother was foiled. An attempt on Dmytro Gordon was foiled. Why? Because apparently Putin has realized that he can't do anything about Ukraine. He can't take Ukraine. So that means he needs to eliminate the leadership and stir everything up from the inside, create some kind of chaos here inside Ukraine. He can't do it any other way, and he won't be able to. He realized that he's stuck. He realized that it has all failed. He realized that the summer offensive would bring him nothing except some PR. Well, listen. World War II lasted 4 years right here. On this territory, if we're talking about after the attack on the Soviet Union, it lasted much longer. Some people count from 39, I count from 32 or 33, but that's not important. The big war lasted 4 years. Right here, on this territory of the Soviet, post-Soviet, Soviet space. And what was the result? Berlin. And here, damn it, what does he have? 3.5 years. And in reality, this mess has been going on much longer, stuck in this swamp. Russians are dying in droves, and he sends these corpses to Ukraine so he doesn't have to bury them himself or spend money on them. Not a penny, not a kopeck. And as for himself, when it comes down to it, he can't do anything. He can't do anything. That's why what we're seeing now and what we'll see even more of in the future of Vnukovo will be blown up, and the fleet will be blown up again, some other one. They're threatening with the Baltic fleet to blow it to hell or even sink their own fleet. They don't care. And they'll have problems in Crimea, and in Siberia has already gone up in flames once. Why do we think it won't happen a second time? Everything always repeats itself. The show just goes on as usual. A good show runs several times. Then it's premiere after premiere after premiere. You know that, right? There can be a good premiere of the same play 3 or 4 times. It's the same. Here there will be Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and Web 4. It's not for nothing that Maliuk came out and said there was an attempt to destroy the main headquarters, the main SBU office in Kyiv. A director, the head of such a service, doesn't just say things like that for no reason. This means that a response is being prepared, and it means that the response will target the most important decision-making center.
Sasha, what is your opinion on the strikes and the destruction of the Russian Black Sea Fleet's boat? because it's reported that since the beginning of the war, Russia has already lost 28 ships and boats due to threats. The Russian fleet is withdrawing from occupied Sevastopol. The main forces are now in Novorossiysk, and only submarines remain in Crimea. I would really like us to eliminate all the ships in Novorossiysk and all the submarines, of course.
I'm not laughing because of the boat. Dasha, the boat is certainly a great achievement. It's a big success. In general, any strike and sinking of a boat, the destruction of an aircraft, is very difficult. The destruction of an entire train of tanks, like what happened recently, right? They wiped out an entire train of Russian tanks. That's a huge achievement. 41 aircraft, that's enormous. That's a legendary achievement. I'm laughing for another reason. Who commands the boats in Russia? Nikolai Platonovich Patrushev. We talked about Putin having a stroke, a heart attack, Sobyanin having 2 strokes. I think after losing another boat, Patrushev is already in intensive care with a stroke or heart attack. Like everything just short-circuited for him. Well, damn, they screwed up the Black Sea fleet. Ukraine doesn't have a Navy Seas blockade. The fleet really had been degrading constantly since the very beginning after independence, just degrading and degrading. Russia tried to cut it up, destroy it. Well, they did everything. Occupied Crimea, did it all, blocked the Sea of Azov, part of the Black Sea. And then Ukraine went and destroyed the Russian Federation's fleet in the Black Sea. Well, all right. Where is Ukraine and where is the Pacific Ocean? Where is the Desantnaya Bay? Well, they marched, they traveled hundreds of thousands of meters, kilometers, they made it there and blew up the Russian Pacific fleet to smithereens. The strategic fleet, damn it, the nuclear triad, my friend. Now they're shouting that the Baltic fleet will be sunk, they'll sink it themselves, they'll do everything themselves out of their own stupidity. Narishkin and Patrushev together. But who is to blame for this? Who commands the entire Navy? Who oversees these matters in Putin's administration? Patrushev. So what? Where are the results? Just sinkings, nothing but sinking. He sent him there out of spite so that he wouldn't try to seize power and wouldn't push his own son in there. Well, fine, he sent him, and that's that. He was supposed to oversee one fleet, another, a third, a fourth, and so on. Well, all right, the cruiser Moskva sank. Let's say that's not Patrushev's fault. Although he was the Secretary of the Security Council at the time, well, what about now? This is your area of responsibility. And over there it's on fire, over there it's sinking, and over there bridges are blowing up. And where are you? I'll tell you where. He's busy with agriculture. He sends expensive potatoes from Lukashenko, takes potatoes from Lukashenko's cellars and so on. But the most interesting thing is something else. He has Roselkhozbank, both Patrushev and his son. What is Roselkhozbank? For those who don't know. Roselkhozbank is the main cesspool in Russia through which all the money is laundered, all the foreign currency, because it's not under sanctions. And the Europeans and Americans don't want to put it under sanctions. Well, that's what he's up to. Laundering money for themselves and for Putin. And recently he also took over Domodedovo. Well, okay, so you say that Domodedovo has a plan carpet. Who has the carpet plan? Where is this Aladdin sitting? Nikolai Platonovich here, and there is a monkey named Abu running around somewhere, some other monkey of his own. Dima Medvedev, who drunkenly shouts every single day that he has some kind of nuclear warhead for this or that country. He has a nuclear bomb for Ukraine. He has a nuclear bomb for Iran. He has a nuclear bomb for Trump. At this rate, he'll end up with a nuclear bomb falling somewhere in his own backyard. But the problem is something else, Dasha. You see, we joke around, but there's another point. They recently started talking about a dirty bomb. Did you notice? Putin has started bringing it up. A dirty bomb. Ukraine is making one. I'll do everything to make sure Ukraine doesn't strike. I hope they won't strike. First of all, Ukraine doesn't have the technology right now to make, at least for Putin, a dirty bomb. Although, to be honest, it's not so much the bunker, but rather the portable toilet I'd like to put him in. But just imagine the headline. Putin's portable toilet blown up, the whole Kremlin covered in crap. But Dasha, that's not the point. The point is something else. Look, I'm glad to see you smiling. See, I managed to lift your spirits a bit today. I hope I did the same for you too, dear viewers, my friend. So the thing is, they're probably going to escalate the situation. They're probably, in a way, telling all of us, look, we're preparing a provocation involving something nuclear. And what kind of nuclear provocation could they be preparing? Well, they need their own nuclear power plant. But there are others as well. For example, the Zaporizhzhia plant. I'm worried that in the near future, they will try to carry out another act of sabotage, provocation, arson, explosion, or shelling of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to use it for blackmail. But if Trump was able to strike, as they believe, not with nuclear weapons, but with weapons deadly to nuclear arsenals bombs, the most powerful and deadly aerial bombs in the world, from B-2 bomber aircraft, and that means we can do it too. That's where the talk about a dirty bomb comes from. That's the way out. Aha. Look, we're mass producing Oreshnik now, and now we're going to use Oreshnik. We're going to strike Kyiv or wherever else he decides to hit with his Oreshnik. Will it reach its target or not? We don't know. But why? If Trump is allowed to do it, then I can do it too. That's what Vladimir Putin thinks. You see, he didn't quite finish off Iran, even though he could have, and in vain. If he had finished them off, that would have been the end for Putin too. But these guys thought, aha, he didn't finish them off. So if we hit with Oreshnik, or if we launch a dirty bomb or pull off some other nuclear stunt, well, nothing will happen to us either. Nothing happened to him, so nothing will happen to us. And why not? That's what Vladimir Putin is thinking to himself. And attention, the most important question. When Donald Trump was negotiating with Lukashenko about Iran, when he was setting all this up, how would Donald Trump react in the event of such provocations from the Kremlin? After all, it's obvious to everyone there, to all those guys in the Kremlin, that yes, events are accelerating, they're pushing everything forward because there are no achievements, nothing to sell, and they need to do something. They need to do something massive, big, large scale, so that, everything turns upside down, so that Trump gets the message, let's sit down, sign something, stop shooting, just like with Israel and Iran. They were winning, the Israelis, and then he just said, let's keep everything as it is. I destroyed 3 factories there, and that's enough. And the fact that they took out some of the missiles, and the fact that Putin, I'm already sure about this, now that Putin has already made the decision. Last night, even at night, he decided to help Iran create nuclear weapons. He needs this. He needs a precedent. He needs another North Korea in the region, but in a different one. You understand? This is the world we live in, a world where they struck once and thought that was enough. But in reality, they could have finished it off. And they didn't finish it off, just like with Putin.
Friends, please like this video. In the comments, write a few kind words in support of Ukraine and let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you think about this news and about the information from Alexander Demchenko. And one very important point, Sasha, I just remembered the words of Andriy Yermak, who made a statement that Ukraine has already tested ballistic missiles and is preparing to launch them into mass production. This is supposed to happen in the near future. He didn't specify exactly when, but he said that ballistic missiles have already undergone successful tests at the front. And considering that military targets in Moscow and St. Petersburg are practically inviting us to attack them. And now Harbulin also gave an interview to the BBC where he said that Ukraine should, among other things, have nuclear weapons. Ukraine is capable of mass producing ballistic missiles. What is your general opinion on the prospect of Ukrainian ballistic missiles attacks on military targets in St. Petersburg and Moscow, making it so that Russians simply have no peace in their lives?
I think that ballistic missiles will appear in the near future. I think that Ukraine will launch ballistic missiles at military targets, including in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Leningrad Oblast, and Moscow Oblast. All of these will happen. And of course, this will ruin all of Vladimir Putin's plans. One should not think that Ukraine will engage in terrorism. Unlike Russia, we do not commit acts of terror on their territory. But as for military targets, for military objectives of which there are many and which are spread out across the vast expanse of the Russian Federation, these strikes will happen. Ukraine will soon have those missiles, Dalny, Neptune, and other missiles which will, in one way or another, replace the shells, the ammunition, the missiles that Germany, the United States, and a number of other countries are not yet providing us in sufficient quantities, yes, or are not giving permission to use these missiles to strike certain military targets. But these will be Ukrainian-developed weapons. As for nuclear weapons, Dasha. Officially, Ukraine will not have nuclear weapons. Obviously, we don't want to get ourselves into a situation like Iran's. We understand perfectly well that even at the beginning of Israel's nuclear developments, the Americans imposed sanctions, the Americans opposed it, they restricted, did not transfer aircraft, and even took back American F-16s, by the way, at that time. All of that happened. So we shouldn't get ourselves into that kind of situation. But officially, it won't happen. Israel also didn't do anything official. But what if you're threatened by a bandit who isn't just holding a pistol, but a nuclear pistol? Yes. What are you going to do if America keeps getting ripped off? If all of Europe has caved in and is just waiting for a call from America, what are you going to do? So when we, for many, many years, said that Ukraine would follow the Israeli scenario in one form or another, we were right. All those people who said that, for one simple reason, there just isn't any other option. I'm not calling for the creation of anything. I'm just thinking logically. I always think logically. If you're facing a nuclear club, you have to defend yourself with something. So you need to have a small nuclear storm or some other kind of opposing force, well, something else to counter it, so to speak. A kind of remedy for this disease. That's the first thing. Second, it's clear, I repeat myself, that Israel also officially doesn't have anything. It hasn't joined any. Hasn't signed any nuclear non-proliferation treaties. It doesn't hold any conferences. In Dimona, they've got there are, 90 or however many missiles sitting there. That's enough for them to make sure there's no Iran nearby, no nuclear threats against them, and that no one can threaten them with anything. And the Americans have joined Israel, not just now. For the last 10 or 20 years, regardless of aid and so on. For many, many decades, why did they join? Well, when you have an ally who has everything, the newest, the most advanced technology, who can conquer the airspace of a country that, in terms of territory, is like 4 Germanys and France's combined in just a matter of days, so why wouldn't you join? That's why I think that as soon as Ukraine gets very powerful weapons, I'm not talking about nuclear. I'm not talking about nuclear weapons. I have never advocated for that. I still believe that the most wonderful world is a world without nuclear weapons. One of the biggest mistakes ever was the creation of nuclear weapons. But when as soon as Ukraine gets modern weapons, truly modern forces and means, as soon as it becomes clear to everyone that Ukraine can independently stand up to any neighbor, and not just neighbors, no matter what country it is, yes, then we won't have any problems with allies or with money or with funding or with military programs or with the economy. Everyone will shut up about corruption and anti-corruption, damn it. And everyone will be talking about how good, beautiful, strong, and developed Ukraine is, because Ukraine will have everything it needs, so that if necessary, it can rattle its keychain, in front of this or that face.
Friends, let us know in the comments what you think about Alexander Demchenko's recent statements. We work for an audience all over the world, so every comment and every subscription is invaluable. Sasha.
Friends, also write how much you enjoy our duo with Dasha, because we work like tractors every single time. Isn't that right, Dasha?
Sasha plus Dasha, our new format, which comes out every week on my channel and on Dmitry Gordon's channel. They used explosives twice, each time with 1,100 kilograms. The head of the SBU on the third strike against the Crimean Bridge. For the first time, the SBU struck the Crimean Bridge in 2022 using a vehicle loaded with 21 tons of explosives in TNT equivalent. And in 2023, it was attacked by 2 SBU Sea Baby combat drones over water. And the third time underwater, we used 1,100 kilograms of explosives. And then another 1,100 kilograms, so twice 1,100 kilograms on the key supports of the illegal structure, stated SBU head Malyuk. Sasha, so when will the Kerch Bridge finally collapse? The main news, of course, will be its destruction.
Well, eventually it will collapse one way or another. We all understand perfectly well that anything installed illegally by the occupying authorities will collapse sooner or later. I have a question. Well, do you know why I smiled when you said that? Having some understanding of Malyuk's psychology, I can just imagine what's going on in his head. He probably sits there, and when they show him these numbers, right? There was 100 and something, what was it? 100, 1,100, or how much was it?
1,100 kilograms plus another 1,100 kilograms.
So he adds it up to 1,200. Damn, it wasn't enough. Next time it'll probably be 5,000 or 10,000. Basically, he's already gathering explosives. So when you calculate all this, you need to put it in very simple terms. Vasily Malyuk is gathering new explosives for the Crimean Bridge. He wants to do it for the 4th time. Apparently, he has some kind of fetish, some sort of personal thing that he wants to destroy the Crimean Bridge, to go down in history as the destroyer of the Crimean Bridge. And I think he's preparing not only himself for this, but all of Ukraine and the Russian Federation together with Putin. By the way, Dasha, I think that in Russia, they're really afraid of Malyuk. Really afraid.
I think Putin is afraid of Mariupol. I think his whole gang is afraid of Mariupol. I feel like they have some kind of anti-Mariupol keychains over there, some anti-Mariupol deodorants. Everything you can possibly imagine they already have. By the way, I think we should start sending them some merch, a little bit explosive, with images of Vasil Vasilovich Mariuk on it. But they're absolutely terrified. And he's creative, That's what you need to understand. He's creative. One moment he's stuffing those trucks, then he's sending out scooters, then he's looking for explosives, some kind of sea baby things. Then he's figuring out which explosives will blow up best under the Crimean Bridge, and then something else. They just sit there thinking, dang, he could stop the Kremlin with those drones and fill up gun with those drones too. And now they're probably checking Ostankino and Solovyov every single time. Maybe Solovyov already has a drone from Mariuk hidden somewhere inside. Nobody knows, you see. They're terribly afraid. And it's very obvious from how intensely they always react to Mariuk's statements. And to Mariuk and to Budanov, by the way. And at all of them, at our entire intelligence community, at the security, at the whole community of our law enforcement. They're extremely afraid no matter what. And these strikes on Kyiv, on the Dnipro, that terrible strike on those children, yes. And there were strikes on Kharkiv too. This is all out of helplessness. He can't do anything. He can't conquer. He can't subdue. He wants capitulation, craves it, but there is no capitulation. He wants to remove Zelensky. He wants the destruction of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and he can't achieve any of it. He's already trying everything, and nothing is working. And his biggest problem is that Putin has surrounded himself with people who are, to some extent, professionally unfit, people who can't oversee the areas they've been appointed to. Yes, they can steal, like Sarikov Shoigu or like Timur Ivanov, who is now facing 14 and a half years in prison. But they can't do anything else. That Timur Ivanov was put in charge of building Crimea and Mariupol. Where are Crimea and Mariupol now? All that's left is ruin and devastation. But he stole the money. And they're not capable of anything else. Then Shemezov comes in Rostek, Putin's buddy, a KGB guy, and says, we don't have enough money, damn it, we can't do anything. The Pantsir S-1, we've got 48 of those missiles standing there. We sent the Pantsir S-1 to Iran. It didn't work, damn it, the Pantsir S-1. You see what I mean? They're all butterfingers over there. And he understands that perfectly well.
Dasha, you and I absolutely have to discuss the sabotage operations. These are trains loaded with military equipment, with fuel. We remember how a train carrying military equipment was attacked dozens of tanks and other military equipment. And just in the last couple of days, information has come out that the GUR, the main intelligence directorate, also eliminated, destroyed, blew up trains on the occupied territory of Ukraine, in southern Ukraine, carrying fuel and military equipment. That's a successful operation as well. It would be great to see something like that happen on Russian territory. What do you think?
And why is that important? Besides the fact that we're stating that this is a successful operation, why is it important? Because if you destroy the fuel, the equipment comes to a halt.
Yes.
They arrive ready to fight, ready to push forward, ready to kill, right? But they are stuck, and they become an easy target for Ukrainian drones, for Ukrainian missiles, artillery, and so on, mortars, and so on and so on. The equipment is stalled. Can you launch an conduct offensive operations with equipment that's stalled? Remember, February, March of 2022. They got bogged down in the swamps, didn't they? They got bogged down. The fuel didn't arrive on time. There was no fuel. They were marching, carrying their dress uniforms in their backpacks, planning to parade through Kyiv, coming from everywhere, pushing through Sumy region, trying to go around somewhere near Zhytomyr, Chernihiv. Kyiv, they were pushing in from all sides. Well, they got bogged down. And where are they all now? Are they having their parade there, or rather in hell at a parade? That's why this is important, Dasha. It's important because, and I keep repeating this, if we're being serious, I've said it many times and I'll keep saying it, right now, Putin's summer offensive is falling apart. And they're striking the rear, hitting fuel supplies, hitting oil refineries, hitting factories and plants, hitting drone equipment there, hitting arsenals, hitting aircraft, hitting railways. Not the FSB, the one that was destroyed in Bryansk region, but they're hitting other military railway lines, destroying entire freight trains loaded with tanks. All of this is to disrupt the summer offensive. And notice there are results. We have started to recapture settlements one by one in the Sumy region. Already, gradually.
But Filatov made an official statement. In Dnipro, 19 schools, 10 kindergartens, a vocational school, a music school, and medical institutions were affected. I want to say that with Trump's rise to power, the situation with missile and drone attacks has worsened by more than 50%. All the military analysts have written about this. In other words, Trump is now simply absolute evil, a horror that he has brought into the world. Trump, in essence, gave Putin his blessing for permanent missile and drone attacks on the territory of our country. I just read now, analysts are saying that Russia will soon be launching 500 to 600 drones. Russia is capable of this, and it will do it. Sasha, what should we do? Because Trump simply doesn't care about Ukraine. He gives his blessing to the attacks. He doesn't care at all. He is absolutely impotent when it comes to Putin.
Dasha, I don't have any cure. I don't have any pill to choose from, whether to take the blue one or the red one. I don't have any prescription for this. Look, I only know one thing. I suspect, or rather, I have this hypothesis that, in fact, the decision to end the war against Iran was made in part in Moscow. When the Iranian foreign minister came to Moscow late at night and spoke with Putin, Putin didn't just betray him. He helped Trump reach an agreement and renegotiate. It wasn't Qatar negotiating. It was Putin who was negotiating. And Trump knows this perfectly well. And it seems to me that right now, a very difficult, turbulent situation is beginning for all of us. Putin will escalate, expand, and accelerate events, while Trump will turn a blind eye because Putin helped him with Iran. I don't know if there was an exchange, if there was a deal, maybe there was nothing at all. I don't want to lie. I don't want to exaggerate or overstate things. But it seems to me that Putin was involved. Soon, negotiations between Russia and Ukraine will resume. And we'll see from these negotiations, has Putin become more willing to make concessions after the events in Iran? Does he want to negotiate or not? What will Trump's reaction be? Will he allow Putin to strike? You've noticed, haven't you, that Trump hasn't reacted at all to the recent strikes on Kyiv? And did he react in the past? Well, fine. Now Iran is done. He has peace. Deal, deal, deal. He's already achieved everything. Or rather, he hasn't achieved a damn thing. He handed victory to a terrorist country which will still carry out attacks in Washington. I have no doubt about it. I don't know if there will be an attack near the White House, but in Washington, in New York, they will carry them out. They always do, these Iranians, they carry out terrorist attacks. This is a terrorist country, a sponsor of terrorism, but he gave them victory. Orwell, a partial victory, more precisely, well, definitely not a defeat. Although this country could have, this regime, to be exact, could already be lying in ruins and shreds. Vladimir Putin got involved, and we'll see in the near future what will Donald Trump do. And based on what he does, be analyzing his actions, we'll understand whether there was a deal between Putin and Trump regarding Iran or not. Did Putin sell his services? And what did he exchange his services for with Donald Trump?
Friends, Sasha and I are working for you. So every comment and every subscription is invaluable. So we ask you to stay engaged. Let us know where you're watching from and what you think about all this. A few warm words in support of the armed forces of Ukraine. At the end of every stream, I always ask Sasha for an optimistic forecast, what's likely to happen in the near future. Sasha, please share your optimism, maybe give our audience some hope, which is so important.
Ukraine will respond. Expect a response in the near future. I don't know from whom, Malyuk, Budanov, but expect a response from Ukraine. It's clear that we will see more than one special operation in the coming days or weeks on Russian territory. It wasn't for nothing that Malyuk came out and said they tried to do something in Kyiv. And all these victims in Kyiv and in Dnipro and in Kharkiv and in Odessa and in many other Ukraine, especially in Sumy, in many other Ukrainian regions, in cities, for all of them, there will be accountability for everything, for this blood. It seems to me that despite Europe's toothlessness, despite this somewhat toothless NATO summit, yes, despite these formulations, despite Trump, Ukraine, no matter what, will receive a certain amount of aid and will be able to stand up to Putin. And Putin's offensive, I believe in this. There is no certainty, but I believe in it. And I want you to believe in it too, my friends, because the last thing Putin can break is our hope, or hope for something better, for a good life without Putin. So I am 100% sure that this will come true, that Putin's summer offensive will stall. And I'm sure that after it stalls, very dark days will come for Putin. Because not only has karma not been cancelled, but neither have the laws of economics, nor the laws of the Almighty, nor the laws by which humanity lives. That's why I am certain that Vladimir Putin will be punished. But before he's punished, he will punish everyone around him. I don't know what position he'll put whom in, but he already has a line formed by the wall, Medvedev, Shoigu, and then the rest according to the list. So expect some very loud news from Russia, both literally and figuratively.
Our format Dasha plus Sasha, Sasha plus Dasha, call it whatever you like, works just for you. Write a few kind words about the format. Let us know what you think. Top analyst Alexander Demchenko. Sasha, thank you very much and see you soon.
Until next time.